I've always thought there was an old adage in the NFL that if you're a big spender in free agency, usually that does not translate to wins the following season. Those who win free agency usually do not translate to big-time wins the next season. Although, in the last couple of years, we've seen teams go out and spend, be the team that didn't have a lot of wins the previous season, a lot of cap space, they spend the money. And look what we found the New England Patriots doing last season with a young quarterback spending a ton of cap space last year in the offseason, winning free agency, getting all the way to the Super Bowl. I would say the Chicago Bears kind of fit that same mold. Last season, spent wildly at the start of free agency, a winner of free agency, and they had a very successful season getting to the playoffs. And I think we can look in recent times that seems to be the case, that if you spend big in free agency on day one or day two, there is a chance that you could flip your season and all of a sudden be in contention. And I think one team specifically did that yesterday, and that team to me is the Tennessee Titans.
Oh.
I like what the Titans did yesterday, spending, they locked in 5 starters. I like the move, especially of John Franklin Myers, the defensive tackle in the middle. I think that's definitely going to help with Robert Saleh's defense. So I think Tennessee spending big. They had a lot of cap space. I like what the Tennessee Titans did yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that they were going to, obviously. They go into the offseason with the most cap money out of any team. They had close to $100 million in cap space, and getting a new coaching staff with Robert Saleh coming in, bringing in Brian Daboll as a new offensive coordinator for Cam Ward, a young quarterback that you hope to get the most out of and develop into the next good young quarterback of that class, or the only quarterback of that class that you hope to kind of mold into the next big thing. And we kind of saw, you mentioned the blueprint.
Yeah.
2 years ago, it was the Washington Commanders that spent a bunch of money, young quarterback. Where did they end up? NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
Last year, you had the New England Patriots spend a bunch of money, young quarterback, new coaching staff. Where'd they end up? AFC Championship game. I'm not saying that the Tennessee Titans are going to the AFC Championship game by any means. You've got a new coaching staff. You've got 2 new guys coming in. Both of them have been head coaches before. Robert Saleh was a head coach. Brian Daboll was a head coach. Both of them didn't work out. And now they both get to take over the Tennessee Titans. And you've got Daboll being the offensive coordinator to develop Cam Ward. But I do think all of these guys kind of brought in guys that they've either worked with before or are comfortable working with. The offensive weapons that they brought in, Wan'Dale Robinson, Daboll is familiar with. And I think once he gets to work with Cam Ward, it's going to be a match made in heaven for Cam Ward, because we saw what Daboll had success with Josh Allen. And I don't know if Cam Ward's going to be like Josh Allen. That's not the comparison. That I'm not going to put the ceiling is Josh Allen for Cam Ward. But when you just get to focus on the offense and your only focus is developing the quarterback, and we saw that when Robert Saleh can take a defense and flip it and spend money, like you mentioned, they went out and they got a couple cornerbacks. They got the defensive lineman in John Franklin Myers. You can flip a defense with money and draft picks and really turn it around. And they're not going to go to the AFC Championship game. We talked about how the Ravens got Max Crosby, how the Bills traded for DJ Moore. That's the class of the AFC. But I still think that the Titans can go from worst to first, can compete for a wild card spot in that division. I think that division's wide open, and I think the Titans definitely solidified themselves as a contender just in their division, and can definitely take a step from being at the bottom of the barrel in that division and move up for sure.
See, and that's why there's 2 of us on this show. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. If you want to text the show, you can text us at 310-840-4910. You can also call us at that number. Who won free agency yesterday? We'll take your phone calls here on Bleck and Abdalla. So I'm going to say that Tennessee won free agency yesterday. With that said, I'm not going to go over the top like Abdalla is, suggesting that they're going to be a contender. I think that this will take time. And I do like the hiring of Robert Saleh. I think he's a good head coach. And I just think that the way it worked out in New York with the Jets is that he is someone deserving of a second chance as a head coach in the National Football League. So, and it will take time with Cam Ward as well. I think there is a lot there to like with Tennessee. in their division, though, I like Jacksonville more. And I think Houston is not a team to kind of ignore in this situation. So when you say contender, I think we're still a year off of that. But what I was pointing to as we got this started 5 minutes ago here on Bleck Abdalla is we have seen teams utilize the cap space, jumping from a team that wasn't expected to do anything. You lock in some starters that you spend for in free agency, and you find yourself as a competitive team in that following season. And that's why I listed off the Patriots from last year. I listed off the Bears from last year. You listed off the Commanders from a couple seasons ago. There are teams in recent history that have spent big in free agency and have had a high level of success in that following season, where I feel like years ago, it was always the teams that spent wildly on the first day of free agency were always mocked. Mm-hmm. And I even think that if you want to add that into the entire conversation, like, I'm not entirely out on what the Raiders did yesterday. The Raiders are spending big. They have the cap space. It's a fresh start for Clint Kubiak in that front office. So I think that when you see these young teams that have the cap space spending, I do think that it is something that maybe I have to adjust my expectations now, because we've seen it work now. I think one big thing that factors into all this is you have to have the quarterback. If you don't have a young quarterback, I think this entire conversation's washed, right? Like, if Miami is a team that's a big spender and they want to say that Malik Willis is their prize and that's a part of their big spending, that ain't going to work.
Yeah.
News to Florida and South Beach in South Miami. It's not going to work.
No.
But I will say, when you look at a team like the Titans, I think Cam Ward is their quarterback for the future. And you could sell me on the idea that the Raiders are setting their team up for Fernando Mendoza to be the face of their franchise and the future quarterback for that team as well. So theoretically, that would follow the blueprint that we've seen with the Commanders, with the Patriots, with the Bears. All three of those teams had quarterbacks from the same class. All three of those quarterbacks are really good. Young quarterbacks who are ascending. And I think that's the key, because if you see a team like another team that spent pretty big yesterday, the New York Jets. The Jets spent, and a lot of people, all the different breakdowns on what the Jets did yesterday. People like what they did. They don't have a quarterback, though. No. So does it matter? Does it really matter when you're spending big in free agency if you don't have that young quarterback locked in?
No, and I think that that's the difference between like the Raiders spending and the Titans spending. The unknown of Fernando Mendoza. Like, we kind of know that Cam Ward has a floor. Like, we saw the floor towards the end of the season. We kind of know what he can be. We know what Brian Daboll has as far as developing quarterbacks, at least with Josh Allen. We know it didn't work out with Daniel Jones, and when Daniel Jones left and went to Minnesota for a little bit and worked with Kevin O'Connell, and then went to the Colts and had a great time with the Colts before he got injured. But we know that Brian Daboll has had success with the Bills. If you look right now at Tennessee's win total, it's 7.5 on DraftKings. If you look at Houston and Jacksonville, they're 9.5. It's not that much separated. So I think that that's looking at the quarterback, and that's looking at the moves that were made yesterday and saying, hey, they're a lot closer than people think. Vegas is still down at 5.5. Regardless of the moves that they make, and, you know, signing Tyler Linderbaum to a huge deal at center and a bunch of moves and spending a ton of money, the unknown of Fernando Mendoza is still there. If he comes in as a rookie and wins Rookie of the Year because he's this great quarterback, sure, they can go out and win a bunch of games, and it's completely different, but it's still the unknown, just like the Jets. The Jets don't have a quarterback, 5.5 wins, because it's the unknown of not having a quarterback, and you can spend a ton of money, but if you don't know what you're doing at the most important position in the game, you're not going to have a high win total. No one's going to know what you're going to do, and you can take all your money and spend it however you're going to spend it. But if no one knows what you're going to do at quarterback, then it all kind of means nothing right now.
Yeah, and when we talk about the quarterbacks, there are a few players who are still out there that we don't know what's going to happen with them. Aaron Rodgers being one, and we'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers in just a moment. Kyler Murray's out there. We don't know the latest with Kyler Murray. Trey Hendrickson is waiting to land somewhere. Romeo Dobbs is out there still. Stephon Diggs still out there. So there's a lot of big names still yet to sign. The official free agency period begins 4 Eastern on Wednesday. So that's when, and what that means is teams can officially announce their signings. So that's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. But when we look around the National Football League, another team that caught my eye, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what they were able to do yesterday. Asante Samuel Jr. re-signs with the Steelers. And then also the trade for Michael Pittman Jr. from Indy to Pittsburgh. I know we don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, but I like the way the Steelers are approaching this offseason.
Yeah, adding Michael Pittman Jr. and, trading for him and then signing him to an extension, I think is huge because you add him on one side, you've got DK Metcalf on the other side, whoever is their quarterback, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether they sign Kyler Murray, whoever it ends up being, it adds to that offense. And then adding Asante Samuel, which is good, you re-sign your own player, and then you add Jamel Dean, which is good. And so I think you add a good running back at a good value too. 2 years, $12.5 million. I think that is a good value for a solid running back. That's a $6 million average between those 2 years. That's a solid offensive line. And if you can take some of the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers, who now has to face Max Crosby twice a year on the other side in the Baltimore Ravens and other solid defenses, I think that helps him maybe make his decision a little faster. Hey, we got you another wide receiver. Hey, we got you a solid running back. We've got a decent offensive line to protect you. Maybe this helps you maybe come in for a little bit of training camp. You've got another wide receiver to kind of get familiar with. Maybe come in earlier and help us out. If you're only going to play for one more year, come in and try to learn from these guys and help these guys out so you're not screaming at them on the sideline in the middle of games.
Be a part of it. Yeah. Be a part of the team. Come on, Aaron.
Because
let's go.
Here's the thing. When Aaron Rodgers is screaming at these wide receivers because they're running the wrong route or whatever in the middle of games in December and November, think about how he's not there for OTAs and how he's not helping them out in training camp because he hasn't made his decision yet. If he makes his decision on Wednesday or today or something like that, and he shows up and he's helping them out and they're, throwing on the side, then all of that chemistry will be there. But if he's not, then he's got no excuse when they're not on the same page in November and December.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. You can call us at 310-840-4910. Like David in Houston on with Bleck Abdalla. What's up, David?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the free agent training. The Pittsburgh Steelers picking up Pittman from Indianapolis. That's good for the Houston Texans because they don't want to see Pittman twice a year. What do you think about C.J. Stroud, and is he going to bounce back this year? And also, what do you think about the Texans' free agent chances? I know they picked up David Montgomery. I know that, but are they going to do anything more than that?
Yeah, and thank you for the call, David. Appreciate it. There's David in Houston joining Bleck Abdalla, and you can join the show at 310-840-4910. You can text the same number as well. My thoughts on the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud is I'm not going to say he absolutely can't rebound, but it's a concerning trajectory going downward the last year and a half for C.J. Stroud. Mm-hmm. He is not the same player he was as a rookie in the NFL. And at some point, he's got to correct his mistakes. He holds on to the football too long, and when he's in the pocket, he's loose with it. And the fumbles are so concerning. The way he gave the football up that many times, 5 fumbles against the New England Patriots? And I get there's some weather. That's going to happen in the playoffs. But C.J. Stroud needs to be better, and we need to see him bounce back to what he was as a rookie.
So it'll be interesting. The Texans haven't officially picked up his option yet. They have until May to pick up his 5th-year option. You would assume that they would pick up that 5th-year option.
Yeah.
But again, it's about $26 million for that 5th-year option, so it's relatively inexpensive for a 5th-year option. But you don't really want to get to that point. So you want him to perform well so you can negotiate an extension beyond that 5th year. But they're going to have an interesting discussion to have if he doesn't rebound, because what has happened to CJ Stroud is he played insanely well his rookie year and just continued to regress and regress and regress. And that is a championship level defense. That defense is ready to go to the Super Bowl and win now. But the problem is CJ Stroud just is not and continues to play worse and worse every single year.
Yeah, it's really surprising because we've seen so many young quarterbacks take a step each and every season as they kind of develop. And to see someone like backslide, like, were we all crazy? Were we all missing what took place his rookie season? He was awesome as a rookie.
And if your defense gets better, you should be getting better because they should be propping you up to get better.